Hi Claire, good morning. I'm joined by Claire Young today. You may recognise Claire. She was runner-up on The Apprentice in, am I correct saying 2008?
2008, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, I know. I remember watching you and I was rooting for you to be the winner. And it's sometimes, so in some ways feels like a lifetime ago, in some ways feels like a few moments ago. So you now head up school speakers as well as being on the leading various charities. So fascinated to speak to you today because obviously your business has gone through massive changes, I'd imagine, over the last 12 months. So would you like to give yourself a bit of an introduction? Tell me a bit more about yourself, Claire.
Yeah, so taking part in The Apprentice, I left that experience and started my own business. So before then, I'd always been an employee because your life just changed a huge amount when you take part in reality TV for various reasons. But the biggest thing was going from working for somebody to actually starting my own business. And after The Apprentice, I was asked to go speak in schools, and it just started as one talk and then it grew into more talks and then sending out other speakers for different subjects. And I spotted a gap in the market, that there were lots of speaking agencies for the corporate sector, the entertainment sector, and nobody really was looking after the education sector for students. So you could book a speaker for CPD, for career development or conferences, but nobody, if I'm being honest, really could be bothered with the school market because they haven't got the same budgets as a corporate market, but you've got 70,000 schools in the country. You're always going to have young people. And that's probably something which I've always said, and I really have benefited from during this period of our lives, because we are still working, we're still operating, whereas a lot of event companies, due to COVID, we've literally just had to shut down. So for the last 10 years, 11 years, time seems to be blurring more than ever. I run my business where we send speakers into education. We don't just work with schools, we work with colleges, universities, prisons, PRUs, anybody with young people, and we work with schools all across the world. We've just organised a mental health conference in Brazil. We send speakers to America, China, Africa, all through the internet. People find us through word of mouth. So my office in Yorkshire, in the north of England, because lots of people assume that we're based in London, we can be dealing with having phone calls with people all across the world, which is just great. Love the diversity of it.
So do you think that actually in some respects this whole pandemic has had positive changes then? Do you think it's almost made things acceptable that you're not sending a speaker in person because you've just not been able to, whereas perhaps prior to this it would have looked like we expect that person to be here?
I feel I think the nature of my business in terms of events and speakers having to commute to events, and I've noticed definitely over the last 5 years the stress levels of trying to get to places. So the travelling, the M1, the M62, the dreaded M25, trains breaking down. I do feel we were almost reaching an unsustainable point of stress and burnout, and it's almost as though my world has stopped turning, and we are resetting in a different way, where schools before who would never have embraced online learning or the virtual world because of, they just didn't want to, or they had the fear of online. All of a sudden we're living in a new world, and I actually think a lot of people, their life seems to be a lot happier because they're not rushing logistically from A to B.
Definitely.
And I think particularly for people outside of my business, different companies where people have been lobbying for home working, asking for it for years, particularly working parents, and being told it could never happen because it wouldn't work, and all of a sudden it's been shown for the last 12 months that it does work. There are lots of positives which are going to come out of COVID.
Definitely. And with your the nature of when you go in and you speak to different organisations, how much is it about the education focus or about everything else that's kind of not part of the curriculum? Like you mentioned mental health, giving just people the confidence, the self-belief. Does that take up a big priority of what you offer?
I would say it depends on the time of the academic year, and particularly what's happening in current affairs and what's happening in the world. But at this moment in time, in spring 2021, everything is outside of academia. Positivity, happiness, resilience, mental health. The talks are becoming shorter because limiting screen time. So normally a speaker would go into an event for 45 minutes, then some Q&A. At the moment, I would say most sessions are half an hour, and we're doing probably more sessions for staff than ever before. And the general brief is, you know, please keep on going. We thank you for teaching. Please don't quit your job. And trying to just give teachers anything positive to lift them through the week, because it's so teachers have had the hardest job, I think, out of COVID, alongside our NHS staff. Teachers they're almost doing two jobs. They're teaching in a classroom, they're teaching online, and then they're having smart work afterwards. They are.
I think also from the other side of it, I think, you know, it's so easy to look at teachers and think, why aren't you doing all your teaching online? What are you doing? And I think there's definitely been, they are so under pressure. Everything's so much more scrutinised now because parents are trying to get involved, and every piece of work that's set is looked over by parents, or at least they're trying to, and questioning. And I think it's so easy to just send that email to the school, isn't it, and get involved, whereas actually, like you say, they've got their own children, they're trying to balance everything. I think it's definitely been, and also it's just remembering this isn't their choice, this isn't necessarily what they signed up for. I think sometimes the impression is, oh, it's quite easy now, they're just sat at home, they don't have to go into school, but that's their vocation, that's what they want to be doing. So
we're definitely, from the announcement on Monday, yesterday felt like a game changer. People are bouncing, ready for the summer term. The government has announced they're giving £700 million into education to help students catch up in terms of lectures and tutoring, summer schools. We're going to see a boom. I think we're going to see a boom across the country in terms of life and people wanting to just go out and events and holidays and living and breathing again. But particularly in education, there is a huge focus for young people to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I think what another positive has been, I don't know, I can't speak for all children, but I know certainly my daughter is absolutely desperate to get back to school. And I think certainly for a long time that enthusiasm is going to be there, whereas it can be, oh, is it Monday again, school again? Whereas actually, it's just everything that you can't replicate at home, isn't it? The conversations that happen that aren't on classes, or it's more than the work, isn't it? It's the whole interaction, having something to talk about is where they've really missed out, I feel.
Yeah, totally. For social interaction, as you know, teenagers, do they want to really hang out with the parents? Probably not. They want to be with young people. You think about the freedom as somebody who's 41. Lockdown, we can deal with it because we're tired. We can go to bed, we can have a bath, we can watch TV. You sort of put yourself back into your teenage years and being locked in a bedroom all day. Not good. So yeah, we're excited. And from a business point of view, I think I said at the very beginning of COVID, I said this is going to be a roller coaster. We're up, we're down. And I do think a key part of being an entrepreneur is the tenacity. And Alan Sugar called me a Rottweiler for being tenacious. You've got to have a really positive mindset. I think for anybody, no matter what your business is, to go every day at the moment and be motivated. Yeah, take my hat off to everyone because it is hard, but there are ups and downs. Yeah, I feel like we're on and up again after Boris.
I totally agree with you, and I think in some respects it's been a horrendous time because every business of some sort, obviously some are booming, but generally everyone's been affected or had to adapt or had to change. So I think as a business owner myself, in some respects, that's almost been the only thing that you can take comfort in, is thinking everyone's having to adapt at the moment. Everyone's changing the way they're working. Everyone's perhaps had to be a bit more lenient on things, but it is trying to, absolutely stay positive for your own mindset, for your team, for your family. And I think some days you've just got to accept today's not a good day. I'm just going to ride with it.
I think as well, it's important for sometimes with some business and entrepreneurs, there's an element of bullshit and grandeur, and they say how amazing things are and it's fantastic, and actually things haven't been fantastic. And to have that honesty and to have the humility to say, well, actually that vulnerability where we are all, everyone has been affected by COVID. Yeah,
I think that's true. I think you almost want to project positivity and confidence, and sometimes it's you almost have more respect for somebody when you think, no, they have had a difficult time, business has been affected, but they've kept going and they've come out of it. Whereas actually it's very easy to keep going when everything's easy, when you're on the way up. I always think when you start a business, your first few years, people say the hardest, but in some respects they're the easiest because everything's
you see the progress. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas actually keeping it going can be where it's tough, because that's when things start to change, and keeping it going is actually where you have the respect for people with the resilience to actually keep going. What did you think of the announcement then, the roadmap? Do you think it was sensible? Do you think it's been good? Do you think it's given people more confidence that at least we've got something to aim for now for the first time in a while?
I think it's great. I think it's quite optimistic to think by summer. But I always think prepare, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Yeah. So as long as we have some key dates, and I think it's great that every industry has been included, so that I think for me, half of the stress has been like the cloak and daggers and the constant speculation, whereas I just like to, I have the patience to wait, appreciate that we have to wait, and then the roadmap. I suppose from my business point of view, we work with schools that I knew schools were going to be a priority, and young people are a priority. So I'm very lucky, and I appreciate that I have a business in that position. Equally, I've got a huge circle of friends who work in the event industry, the wedding industry, massive, music and festivals. Yeah, I feel quite apprehensive for them. But I think it's been amazing to see businesses diversify. Yeah. And how people have adapted, and it is basic biology, it's survival of the fittest. Totally. And people have really come together, particularly where we live in Yorkshire. There is a definite sense of community and networking and helping people and giving people work, which has been really good to see.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many industries have kept going, and businesses. You see all these people, we're all working from home, and there's so many businesses that are carrying on. And I think now, I do think that there will be a real spike of a bounce back. It's not been a recession this time, it's been a global pandemic, whereas actually everyone's raring to go now, aren't they, ready to get back. And people have been sat on, there's a lot of cash people haven't been spending, so I think
they're literally biting at the bits, receiving. I do feel like some of the restaurant chains sending through emails asking you to book tables for May. It's very optimistic, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. I realised during this year I'm very driven by purpose, and I need to have a purpose, whether it's in the first lockdown one where my business literally was like a tap which just got switched off. It literally went 3, 2, 1 switch, because obviously schools just locked down. And actually, I wasn't scared. It was a little bit disconcerting, but at the same time, I thought I've got loads of things to do at home. So I've realised I do need to have something to do every day, whether it's clearing out cupboards, packing up old clothes. I'm driven by purpose. Yeah. And once you know what drives you and makes you feel good, I think that's been key to me actually keeping very positive. I have friends who ring me because they know that I'm always pretty chipper and happy and positive about things.
But it is having that purpose. I think the moment that you think, what am I doing here today? What's driving me, is when you think, right, I need to change something. And it's more than just a career, a hobby. It's your life, really, isn't it? It's what makes you driven and what makes the weekend feel different to the week.
And I think that what you've said is when it's your life, for people who've been excluded, the company directors group excluded UK, people who have been excluded from any financial support, and they've literally hemorrhaging cash every month running businesses. They've had to literally, we all know as entrepreneurs how you put your body, heart, soul into starting a business. And when you're reading about businesses which have closed after 30, 40 years, it's really difficult to actually understand how those people are feeling, because the thought of it, I just don't even know where you go with it.
No, really tough. Do you think you're going to have a new kind of job on your hands now with getting back into organisations? Do you think you're going to be here to pick people up a bit now and really almost give them confidence back a little bit? Do you think that's going to be part of your role within the business with your next section?
I feel that all of our speakers are going into schools, are going to have to sort of deliver more than ever before, whereas they might have been great before. We need to send out exceptional positivity. I mean, we are receiving a lot of inquiries for the summer term for physical speakers to go into schools. We've got summer camps, we've got European summer camps. All of these organisations are feeling that things are going to happen. So we're not walking into a neutral standpoint, are we? We're walking into people might be nervous, anxious, tired. People are just really, really tired. So I think from a speaker's point of view, it's for me, managing the office and being in the office and dealing with understandably very tired and stressed people making the bookings, it is our job to make it as easy as possible. We've had people crying on the phone over the last couple of months, just tired. I think sometimes you can just speak to somebody you don't know. Yeah. And it's our job to make sure that we can help them and send them out to somebody who will hopefully the students will enjoy and the staff will enjoy.
Yeah, I think there's generally been a bit of a burnout with people as well, because holidays have been off radar for a while. It's almost been just carry on then. There's almost no point taking time off, whereas actually that time off is so important just to reset your mind, get a fresh perspective. And I think it's been hard to adapt because you've had children working from home in many cases as well, and they've had to fit in around working life, like get off camera. It's been a challenging time for everyone, but I think the positives are it's broken down so many boundaries. I think I've just come off a call with a client and his little boys were walking on the camera, and it's fine. You know, we've all got these lives outside of work, and it's almost made it feel more acceptable that they do merge sometimes, and it's fine. You don't have to keep that part of your life totally separate from everything else.
Yeah, we're all human. I have said to my daughter who's 8, you know, why do you have to keep saying my name? You know, say, mummy, I've spoken to you 10 seconds ago. What do you need now?
Oh, but they know they get away with all the treats when you're on an important call. Can I have this or the biscuit? Just have the whole pack. Just go away.
Yeah, I'm about to make a really important phone call. Is there anything you need? No, 10 seconds in. Mummy, what? But I've said to friends, I will really miss lockdown life, because I feel as though friendships of people have got the time. This is when I worked for Alan Sugar, he said to me, Claire, what are your 3 commodities in life? What are you trading? He was like, money. Obviously, you never want to lose money. Yeah. Time is your most precious thing. And then thirdly, your grey matter, what your intelligence. And we've been given what I think is so precious, particularly having young children, so much time. Yeah. We will miss it. But when we're back in I've said to a friend this earlier today, you know, when we're back on our rats on our wheel, racing around, we'll say, I wish we could go back into lockdown.
I think it'll hopefully be one of those things that it feels like it's been never ending, but once we come out of it, I think we'll look back and think, actually, in the grand scheme of your lifespan, that was quite hopefully a short period of time, and hopefully everyone will feel a recovery from it quickly as well.
I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. There is a definite sense of coiled springs. Cannot wait to get back out into. I love my business, and we are trading probably 70 to 80% down year on year, but we're still open. So obviously when people look at the figures and they say, oh, that's large, like, yeah, but we're still there, we can still supply service.
And I think that's sensible advice. I think for certain industries, it's almost like you've just got to go into that period of just shut down, just see this through, and just lie low, because it's out of my control. You've got the reserves there, you've got the business in place that will absolutely be needed again. Just don't try and change it, just accept it for what it is, really. Obviously look at ways that you can adapt and how you can change, but generally it's not going to last forever, and it will come back.
And then everyone can have a big party.
21st of June, book that week off.
Exactly.
They've timed it well with it being a Monday for the first party. So I think we're all ready for it. How much do you see, because obviously I think for students, children, universities, colleges, their time now, as well as us having more time, they'll have a lot more time. So in a lot of instances, they'll have turned to social media or online communication with friends. Is that something that you cover in your talk? Because I think there's a positive side to that, because obviously it's keeping them in communication with each other. But like you said, there's people only post a lot of the time the positives, and it can make you feel quite down, quite depressed, when it looks like everyone else is fine, everyone else is getting through this, everyone else is doing really well. Is it only me that's struggling, having bad days? Is that something that you have on your hands with students as well to deal with?
I would, alongside resilience, positivity, don't quit teaching, I would say mental health. Yeah, we are receiving everyday inquiries for mental health. I think particularly for teenagers, they seem to have changed their body clocks. They've become nocturnal. So you've got young people going to bed at 3, 4 in the morning, depending what their online schooling is, if whether they've actually got to be logged on at a certain time.
Yeah.
From friends who've got teenagers, teenagers seem to be the category which seems to, I feel, have been affected the most in terms of their lives have turned upside down. I mean, the World Health Organization, for younger pupils under 11, they suggest the maximum amount of time on a screen for a healthy point of view is 2 hours a day.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know for over 11 to 18s, but I do know, of course, it's going to affect them, and there is the worry that we don't know the long-term effect of these young people being in rooms for hours, 15 hours on gaming, Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto, homeschooling, and the effects of just speaking to their friends online constantly, not that social human interaction. So we do have a lot of speakers talk about mental health, but I would imagine they're not even prepared for what's about to come, because nobody knows. It's the unknown.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a tough one, because obviously their learning is on screen. And then what else do you do? I think at least in the first lockdown, we were lucky with the weather. So especially for younger children, there was the garden, there was get out, get the fresh air. Whereas this time it's kind of, it's a struggle, especially when parents are working. What else do you get your child to do? It's almost...
you want them off the screen, but then you have to give them a screen because they want to be on a screen. It's just constant screen life.
Yeah, really difficult.
So it is great. I mean, we've got to put it in perspective that wars for 3 to 4 years. It's not been a continual 12 months, and we're going to be coming out of it. So it is a relatively short amount of time, but there are going to be, I think for students like year 9 who are 13, 14 upwards, there are going to be long-term effects. And I haven't seen the plans yet for education, but I'm sure the secondary schools will be addressing that in terms of mental health. And most schools now have got a counsellor. If anything, they haven't got enough counsellors in schools.
Yeah. At least it is becoming more acceptable for people to talk about the feelings. The whole mental health thing over the year on year, I feel, is becoming more acceptable to say, I'm not feeling okay. I do need some support. So I think people aren't feeling like they need to bottle their emotions as much as they perhaps were even 5-10 years ago. So positive, but definitely giving people challenges. I think you do, as a parent, you also think, how's this going to affect on their education? It's almost felt like 12 months of not consistent education, but then I suppose, like you said, we're all in it, so every child's gone through the same thing, and it's just a case of doing what you can. I think for me it's been a case of trying to keep them happy, because everything else will hopefully fall into place.
I mean, all the teachers we work with have said, from a parent's point of view, they said, you just keep your children motivated, easier said than done, happy, positive, and we'll pick up the pieces when we get back into school. Don't worry about it. And you can see very stressed parents, the knock-on effect with very stressed children. It is a perception, an ongoing circle.
Yeah, and it's almost like a negative effect, isn't it? If you feel like, no, we've got to get through all this work, we've got to learn this, we've got to do that, whereas actually just think, we are going to be a little bit behind from where we were, but if we can, like you said the other week when I spoke to you, if we can just do a bit of reading, take the pressure off, let's just do what we can, break it up with a bit of play, because let's be honest, they're not sat at school working all day, are they?
No, they estimate at primary level that they'll have about 15 minutes of content, and then out of an hour's lesson, and then 45 minutes actually doing the work. So that's what they estimate.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting witnessing that from having a daughter who's 9, sort of concentration levels. It's almost like you need to do it in chunks, and you do need those breaks in between, because just can't hold the concentration. And also they don't want to listen to you, do they? It's a lot different coming from a teacher knows everything, you don't know anything.
No, you don't know anything. More and more schools, everyone's probably seen, are now having screen-free days, particularly a Wednesday or a Friday. Lots did it for Mental Health Week last month, this month, and I think it was received so positively that they've now carried on doing it. You don't need to be on a screen all the time learning. I find it really boring.
It's hard to replicate certain things, isn't it? It's those kind of interactions that just happen in a natural environment that you just can't replicate everything on screen. So what's next for you then? What's your next? Are you going to continue with a lot of online learning, online speaking for the foreseeable? Do you think you'll get out to actually see any schools this year?
Yeah, I'm actually in a school next week,
Brilliant.
an academy group. So that was yesterday that came through, and I thought, you know, there's a change coming because they've got 8 speakers going into a school for an event where they're recording out to a region. My plan is to make sure all my office is set up in terms of admin, operations. I've got my staff ready, and so we can hit the ground running, because it's going to be I think it's going to be a really, really busy couple of months. And then enjoy it for 6 months. And I'm a little bit hesitant that we might go back into some type of lockdown in winter, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I just enjoy the moment, enjoy the good weather, because it's obviously getting lighter. But business wise, that's the plan.
Yeah, sounds good. One thing I don't seem to hear them talking about so much, and I don't know if it's something you've noticed, but with the plan of vaccination, they talk about the high risk categories, the ages, but teachers don't seem to be high up on the list. Is that something?
They're not included. Police and teachers are not included, which surprises me, because there's been a lot of angst and debate. I mean, everybody's heard it on the radio, on the papers, with the teacher union saying that they feel that it's unsafe. I would have thought, obviously I'm not leading the government, I would have thought it would have been a very obvious thing to do, to vaccinate teachers, but no, they haven't been.
Yeah. No, I thought that. I thought before the back, they've been off for so long, maybe we just get them all done if they want to have that protection, and then it makes it all a bit safer, but we shall see.
It's quite, in a way, it's quite exciting living through a pandemic. I've spoken to people before saying we're very lucky that we've never lived through tough times and a war, and then all of a sudden COVID drops into our laps.
Yeah.
And we're just going to, it's literally changed the world we're living in, and the business world, and the way so many businesses they're just going to change operationally. They're not going to go back to offices and serviced offices, and they're going to keep the staff working from home, and the cultural changes associated with that. It is an interesting time.
It is, and actually it's not something that we've ever, or anyone's ever experienced to this extent before. Like you said, there's been wars, but not where every single industry has been pretty much shut down or locked up, or it's been bizarre really, hasn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you, Claire. I shall let you carry on with your busy day, and thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.